Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We've got some best bets and NBA player props in a separate episode available for you guys today. We've got 5 games on the slate before we get into the All-Star break after a full slate of games yesterday. So everybody on the second night of a back-to-back still waiting on some of those injury reports. So make sure you're monitoring that stuff all day, as always, in the NBA. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page so you don't miss either of these episodes each and every day moving forward. I'm going to cheat a little bit today, Nate. I'm going to take a couple player props in the best bets, maybe throw them in with some money lines. It is afternoon on the East Coast, and we still don't have all the injury reports. So we're going to do our best here, but I think we got some looks we can count on. Let's get into your first best bet for Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't think we have any injury reports officially here because, the team's throwing a rebellion here that the NBA is making them all play back-to-backs here on the way in. But you can get some news. I'm going to take the under for Miami at Dallas here. 221 is the total, and the key thing here is if PJ Washington does not go for the Mavs, I don't even care if Kyrie plays or not. If PJ Washington doesn't go, I'm going to be on the Heat at -1. And I know you're not you're on a no heat diet, but I just don't think that they can the Mavs can guard the rim at all with the zero center, and PJ being the only thing resembling a center. That I could at least give Bam Adebayo some problems, but yeah, they're allowing a league high 42 field goal attempts at the rim and getting crushed on corner threes in their last 2 since losing Gafford on top of Lively on top of Davis, which we know just gave up 33 second chance points to the Dubs, who do not have bigs. So that's the big concern here. But I mean, the Heat, both these teams are bottom 5 in the percentage of their points coming in the paint the last 4, despite, the Heat getting a few bigger dudes here. They just have not been able to punish teams down low. Maybe that changes a little bit, but I still like the under because I really like Tyler Hero to go under. We don't know if Rozier, Jaquez, or Duncan Robinson are going to play, because it looks like Hero gave them the stomach bug that kept him out for a game. And we know what's going around. Like, his stomach bug is maybe that norovirus, which I think a ton of people have had. You've had. And yeah, it just lays you out for like 48 hours. And then you are definitely not in great shape to play NBA basketball right after that, even if you are no longer letting loose. So, I mean, with Hero struggling, worst offense in the league in the last 3 for the Heat, 90 points per game. They found something against the Thunder last night, but then were just completely shut down the stretch. Mavs in a crazy short rest spot here, 3rd and 4 nights, overtime game in there. Kyrie has taken 50 shots and scored 72 points in this stretch. So is he really going to go on a back-to-back? If not, like, this Mavs offense should be very clunky. They have just the overall redundancy with all these defensive wings to give the Heat some problems, but I just don't know how they're going to score on the other end when Max Christie is one of your most important offensive players, and you're just depending on this random spike. I mean, he's a pretty good player, but he's not going to maintain this offensive output he's shown so far since getting traded, and just I don't think there's a lot of offense here to look at for either side. So I mean, give me the under and give me the Heat depending on who sits for the Mavs.
Yeah, that's fair. PJ Washington might not play. He didn't play last night. Scott scratched with the ankle. I thought the ankle was okay. That's what the beat reporter said coming out of practice a couple of days ago. Apparently not the case when he had to come out of that game early and then against the Rockets. And yeah, he's not fully back to health. So I don't know who's guarding the paint. And I don't think Clay is going to come out and shoot like he did in the first half to help him yesterday. And then Kyrie with 40, at least 42. I might have got another bucket there before I turned it off. But I don't think that's going to be nearly as doable against the Heat. And then when you talk about Max Christie, talking about one of the best defenders in the league. So yeah, hell yeah, give me more Max Christie. You're talking about like a 6'5", very long, rangy, very athletic, and quick defender who is the reason the Lakers went from like the worst point guard defense to the best, or top 5 for parts of the season when he was starting for them. They're going right back down to awful, and the Mavs are only going to continue to see their above the break defense work really well. Steph, bad shooting last night, in part because Max Christie's draped all the hell over him. So I think you're going to see plenty of that tonight again for who? Davion Mitchell, maybe Tyler Hero. It doesn't even matter. He's going to be shutting down guys that are a fraction of the player that Steph Curry is. So yeah, I think the under is definitely the play here. And I'm going to go to OKC, Minnesota, where I'm not really scared of 7.5 right now. And it's going up, so it might be at 8 or so by the time people are able to watch. But I'm still not scared. I'm going to go though with a money line bet for them, parlayed with Chet Holmgren to get his PR on the night here tonight, which I believe is now at like 17.5 or so for the PR. Yeah, because it's not very high. 18.5 for Chet. You
20.
can still get. It's all the way up to 20 now. Oh,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a. This is outdated then. Yeah, this odd shopper is slow. Okay, no worries. We got 20.5. Either way, if you're expecting 20 to 25 minutes from Chet, this is what I like. We saw him sit last night for a reason in that game that they ended up pulling out. I don't believe they ended up covering, but they did win that game handily. It was a massive, massive spread. But either way, they're coming in now. They're still going to be in a good situation, I would say, to win this thing against Minnesota on the road. If you're looking at the way Minnesota's been playing, if Ant doesn't score 45 points, this is a horrible offense. And if you look at the teams that he was scoring 45 against, not exactly world beaters, although he did do it before last night in his prior 3. They're relying on this man to take 25 to 28 shots and like 15 plus threes against OKC. Like, that's not how you're going to win. The best way to beat this team is if you do have a big and you can move it around the horn and then eventually find an open player, because they're going to pressure the crap out of the ball. And Ant ain't going to be the dude that's going to be able to just take on 3 at least A minus defenders at all times that are going to be on the floor for them. Caruso fully healthy. You're still not going to be seeing Kason probably, but you still got the Dorcher chamber. They didn't have to play guys big minutes last night on purpose to make sure that they could handle tonight, right? And if you look at the way Minnesota started winning a few games, well, they were playing the 6th easiest strength of schedule over their last 10 games, where they're now 6-4, which looks good for them. But they're, like I said, beating up that poo-poo competition that I'm really not too scared of. The thing that they've also been relying on is some points off of turnovers. They have the 7th best. I'm talking about the Timberwolves. They have the 7th best points off of turnovers in their last 10 games. Again, number one team limiting turnovers on offense is OKC. They do not turn the ball over, in part because it's mostly SGA just doing what he wants. Then you overpressure him, and now you've got an imbalanced defense against a very good Oklahoma City team hitting a good amount of threes, but really they're also dominating the mid-range. And I love to be able to say that Minnesota is horrible limiting mid-range stuff this season. They are 28th in terms of the amount of mid-range shots being taken against them. And they are 3rd worst in the field goal percentage they're allowing to the mid-range shot. Hello, SGA. And hello, a bit of like Isaiah Hartenstein playing in that role where he's going to be able to then facilitate from the mid-range as opposed to taking that mid-range shot. I think he'll find that he has a lot of room to work with and then can dribble and kick out or throw that lob up to Chet. We've seen that when they're on the floor together, that Chet is definitely closer to that dunker spot. And then we've got Isaiah Hartenstein playing in the mid at the top of the paint, right, extended paint area, and that's led to a good amount of those dunks and lobs for him as well. So as far as them playing defense against Minnesota, like I said, it's really, if you just shut down Ant, which they'll be able to do, then I don't trust anybody after that. Although I probably will be liking some Naz Reid props off the spot up. That's not going to be enough to hang with OKC.
Yeah, and just to put a number on it, I mean, if you go just 10 points and 6 rebounds with the OKC money line, that gets you into the plus money for Chet, which is below the prop. I mean, if you took the full prop there, you're looking at closer to 2-1 in terms of, yeah. So, I mean, Chet has averaged 15.5 and 6.5 in his 2 trips to the target center in his career. He is a Minneapolis native, as many know here, and won actually 4 straight state titles there. So yeah, it seems he sat out the front end of the back-to-back to get ready for this one. So that means, kind of wheels up in terms of at least, getting 28 minutes, given his situation right now. Let me go over to Utah, take the Jazz +9. I mean, we leaned towards a closer game last night. I thought that was going to mean more points and stats for LeBron, and the Lakers just did not come with it. I'm not going to fade the Clippers in the same way to say like they are just going to lay an egg in terms of effort, but I don't expect Kawhi to play for sure after playing 34 minutes last night. Harden played 35. They played at a 104 pace against Memphis. We've talked about how the game after playing Memphis is going to be tough for a lot of teams based on the pace and the physicality of that. Clippers have gone 1-5 their last 6 without Kawhi, -11 net, 105 offensive rating. And we talk a lot about how they're the best team ATS as a favorite, but a lot of that's at home. 74% at home, 44% on the road. They are 4-6 ATS on back-to-backs. And for what it's worth, they went 1-3 ATS in their last 4 leading into the All-Star break last year. So you look at certain veteran-laden teams being like, all right, let's exhale a little bit. Like we got the tough win over the Grizz. Now we just face this Jazz team who people overlook, and then they come in there scrappy. Since the dust has kind of settled on the trade deadline, they've been good. Some teams get a lift from that, from being like, okay, this is our core. Like we can move on now. We got the young guys mixed with a couple vets, and the Jazz 4 straight covers at home since getting blown out by Mini. And that's the big thing here. It's that at home versus they lost by 20 at LAC last month. But I mean, that they also started Micah Potter, Svi, Flipkowski, started Clarkson in that one. Like just a completely different starting lineup, where their new starting lineup has a 129 offensive rating, is plus 10 net in 24 minutes in that span. So they should be much better positioned to deal with that Harden Zoo centric offense, which we see from the Clips here. That's what crushed them last time. With the front line they're throwing out there now, they're not going to get hemorrhaged in the paint. In fact, they're 8th in paint points allowed in this recent hot streak here. Number 10 defensive rating. So no longer a doormat on that side. And then offensively, yeah, like I'm saying, like 29 assists, 29 free throw attempts. It's all Isaiah Collier, baby. It's still 18 and a half points and assists. We never make it an official pick, but every time we're like, just take Isaiah Collier. And yeah, I guess that could be a parlay here with the Jazz to cover, because he's running that offense and keeping them in it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for the record, like he's an auto bet for me. So you should definitely all be watching this every episode that the Jazz play and assume. I mean, I have my Collier jersey on the way. It's been ordered. I'm going to be at a few things for All-Star this weekend. If I can maybe get a few minutes with Isaiah, just to let him know that my daughter's middle name will probably be Collier. I'd love to do that. I love the Jazz so much. And I love how they handled last night. And the beautiful part about tonight as well, if you take the Jazz, is like, they could be down 15 going into the fourth quarter. Everybody's playing. That's why I feel great taking their player props as well. Is like they're tanking from start to finish, but they're tanking by just throwing their lineup out there, and then they're still playing their starters in the fourth, in part because they do start guys like Micah Potter, which is so annoying, but he comes out of the game nice and early, and then we get flipped back out there. But either way, I do think this is a good way to play this for a Clippers team that, like, do you see them bringing it tonight? I certainly don't. So yeah, I think this is a good moment to get ahead of that. I'm going to close out here with a little cheat code. I'm just going to take a player prop, man. I don't want to mess with this other stuff. I'm not even going to same game parlay it for you guys. I'm going to tell you if you want to throw it into one of your legs, great. But Davion Mitchell is going to keep getting usage. So I'm taking Davion tonight over the 12 and a half points and assists. Now moved up from 11 and a half, but we're getting good odds on it. Minus 104 for the 12 and a half PA. I think you could probably take the points. I don't think everybody's playing for Miami tonight. Like you were talking about the norovirus. I mean, shoot, man, if I couldn't even, podcast or make episodes for a show while I was on the norovirus, how are you going to play NBA basketball? You're probably not going to be able to, not to belittle the work that we're doing here. But either way, I don't think you're going to see everybody out there for Miami. And even if you do, Davion Mitchell is clearly the point guard of this team now. I mean, if you want to call it the talk about touches and Tyler Hero still dominating the ball, that's fine. You can call him the primary ball handler, whatever you want. I mean, Davion came in, was third in touches right away after Bam and Tyler yesterday, and not far behind, to be honest. Only had like 5 fewer touches than Bam did in last night's game. Had the 11 potential assists against the best defense in the league. OKC, let's be very clear, the best defense. Only Houston is better at limiting assists than they are, and he still had 11 potentials. There's a reason the guys weren't making shots against a very tough to beat Oklahoma City defense, but I don't think they're going to have the same trouble against Dallas, who I don't want to trash Dallas's defense, because once again, Max Christie is going to make a difference up top for you guys. Be very clear. But Davion Mitchell is not going to get Max Christie as his matchup. He's going to get guys like Duncan and to a degree, and Tyler Hero. Duncan. Those are the guys on his team. On the other side of the ball, he's not going to be getting Max Christie. He's going to be getting, if Kyrie plays, or potentially like a Quentin Grimes, pretty good defender, but not worried about him being the focal point of the offense. So he'll be able to get his. As far as the assists go, like I said, 11 potentials and the touches, he's clearly going to dribble drive. It's really a lot of that when he's playing off of Bam. If he's running that pick and roll with Bam when Tyler's been off the court, love the looks there. If you look at him with the minutes, Spo has said this is going to be the dude who we want integrated into the team as a point guard. You're going to keep seeing 34 plus minutes for a guy who just started playing with this team, so he can get more integrated. We heard Doc Rivers say the same thing about Kyle Kuzma, and I'm going to buy into that, as these guys are there to now help them them make a run down the stretch. Like Miami ain't giving up by any means. So the other thing about the minutes is like if Kyrie goes, he's the Kyrie defender. So that's another reason you can bank on like 34 plus for him in this game. And if you look at him on the season, you give him the games that he played 30 plus minutes. And a lot of those games when he's on the Raptors playing 30 plus, he's still playing with at least one or two of Quickly and Barnes and everybody. But even then with 30 plus minutes, he's at about 15 and a half PA per game, right? Getting about 34 minutes per game in those games where he played at least 30 plus. So we got a little bit of a use case here for him that if you give him the minutes, he can do it. So we're gonna take him in this one because of the minutes and the really low number that I think will probably be starting to go up once everybody sees that Davion Mitchell is the primary ball handler for this squad.
Yeah, I mean, and if Rozier's ruled out, then it's pretty obvious where the minutes are going. I mean, part of the reason I like the under in this one is because you put Davion and guys like Andrew Wiggins out there instead of like Duncan Robinson and Jaquez and over in Rozier. Like that Heat defense is all of a sudden looking really feisty. And so, yeah, I think he'll earn the minutes and he kind of walks into those assists when he plays long enough, especially if you got a team that can't guard the paint like the Mavs.
Yeah, for sure. He can get to the rim as well. But yeah, this is going to be a really, really good Heat defense moving forward, man. They're going to be big in most areas, and they're going to have some ball hawking perimeter players finally like Davion. So still not going to bet on him outside of Davion Mitchell. I don't count this because he's a very new Heat. But either way, that's all the time we have for you in Best Bets. Make sure you do subscribe to that page and check out the entirely made up of player props episode as opposed to part of it. And until we see you next, happy betting.